Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Leadership is Cafe. I'm your host, Tanvi Nasir, CEO of Tanvi Nasir Leadership, our leadership firm that offers both virtual and in-person leadership keynotes and workshops. If you've been enjoying my podcast and would like to have me share and expand on the ideas and insights being discussed on my show, check out our company website at tanvinasir.com to learn more about my leadership keynotes and workshops. And while you're there, do check out my award-winning, internationally acclaimed leadership blog, where we've been putting out even more content to help you improve the way you lead. And now I think it's time I warm up my espresso machine and brew up another Leadership Espresso Shot. Opportunity. It's one of a handful of words which on its own can inspire hope and the sense that we might be one step closer to reaching those goals we set out for ourselves and our organization. Of course, opportunity is not the word that comes to mind for many people when we consider the events of the past 12 months. In fact, even the people behind the Oxford Dictionary's Word of the Year initiative have admitted that it will be difficult to come up with a single word that encapsulates 2020. Whether it's pandemic, coronavirus, lockdown, PPE, social distancing, face masks, or even just COVID-19, there doesn't seem to be a single word or phrase that best captures the unprecedented events of this past year. And yet, while there may not be consensus over what word best reflects 2020, there's little question that collectively these words do share a common sentiment or mood. But it's from that perspective that I want to talk about this other word, opportunity, and in particular, what kind of relationship we have with opportunity. For many of us, this year felt like it was just about surviving, of getting through the day, the week, the month, and eventually to the end of the year with the hope that the changing of the calendar year will somehow lead to a change in our circumstances and the challenges we face. And yet, if we take a closer look at these past 12 months and make the time for self-reflection and review, we might realize that as a result of these various hardships and challenges, we've also been given the necessary momentum to not only affect various change initiatives we've been putting on the back burner, but we've become open to opportunities that we might have otherwise overlooked. Then again, perhaps this just embodies that quote from Bertram Carr when he said how the optimist sees every difficulty as an opportunity, while the pessimist only sees difficulty in every opportunity. Of course, our relationship with opportunity has to do with more than whether we see the glass as being half empty or half full. After all, opportunities serve as the driving force that pushes organizations into pursuing new territory in the hopes of discovering potential new markets for their products or services in order to boost stagnant or declining revenue shares. It's no doubt the reason why we find it so hard to say no to new opportunities because of the inherent belief that any opportunity which crosses our path is an open door leading us one step closer to our goals. What's interesting, though, is that while we spend so much time talking about seeking opportunities, we rarely consider the importance or value of the quality of the opportunities we're offered. That's why most of us approach opportunities from the vantage point of, if we don't accept it, or if we pass this up, what will we lose? Perhaps a better question we should be asking ourselves when such opportunities arise is, what will we gain through accepting this in terms of reaching our goals? Other equally important questions we should begin asking are, what future opportunities could we miss out on because we committed our resources to this process? And is this the most direct route to where we want to go? As Richard Branson said, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. As such, making the effort in shifting our attitude from simply seeking opportunities to evaluating what we gain from pursuing that option is important for organizations and their leaders, especially as many continue to grapple not just with the short-term challenges the COVID-19 pandemic has created, but also with trying to anticipate what will be the long-term fallout brought forth by this global crisis. Although it's vital for leaders to develop and put in place strategies that will ensure their organization's ability to achieve its long-term goals, they also need to reconcile the reality of balancing opportunities which best serve their employees and those which best serve the organization as a whole. Remember, whether we're talking about an individual or an organization, we all want to achieve something. And so the question becomes, how do these opportunities help us to accomplish what we set out to attain? The other thing we need to be aware of is that the best opportunities are those which not only help us overcome those obstacles standing in our way, but that they open up new possibilities for us to explore. That's why leaders need to ensure the opportunities they pursue not only help them reach their goals, but also create conditions that empower their employees to stretch and grow, to challenge themselves, and become more valued contributors. Perhaps Thomas Edison said it best when it comes to understanding the true nature of opportunity, that opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. So, instead of only looking at this past year in terms of the hardships you and your organization faced, why not also reflect on the various opportunities those challenges made you aware of? What opportunities helped you to develop new skills to improve the way you communicate on those various digital channels? What opportunities did you have that led to new product offerings or services that not only addressed the changing needs of your existing client base, but which allowed you to tap into new ones? And what opportunities allowed you to explore your leadership to discover both your unique gifts that inspire those you lead to deliver their best, as well as those areas in need of improvement to ensure you're prepared for the new way of work that will inevitably arise from these unprecedented times? These are but a handful of questions you should be considering to ensure you don't overlook the precious good that came out of this year. From those moments of collective awakening to improve the way we all work and live, to those sparks of creativity and innovation that are helping us all see that light at the end of this dark tunnel. So as the days of 2020 start to wind down, give yourself time to reflect not just on those hardships, but on the relationship you have with opportunity, and what both of them can inform you about what you can do to improve the way you lead and respond to the changing needs of those under your care. And I'd say that's a perfect place for us to wrap things up on yet another cup of Leadership Espresso Shot. With this episode being one of our last ones for 2020, I wanted to share something a little more thoughtful and introspective, so I hope this Leadership Espresso Shot will get you to tune out the noise and reflect on your experiences this year, on both the good and the bad, and what learnings and insights you can take from it going forward. As I mentioned at the start of this episode, it's these kinds of leadership insights and ideas I can share with your team and organization through either a leadership keynote or workshop. So if you'd like to learn more about my speaking work, visit our company's website at tanvidnasir.com, where you can also drop me a line so we can discuss this further. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it if you could share it with your colleagues and your network. The simplest way to do this is to simply direct them to our podcast page at tanvidnasir.com/LBC. On our podcast page, you can listen to every single episode of our show, as well as find links to subscribe to our show on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Pandora, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher Radio. You'll also find links to the show notes for all episodes of our show. And in keeping with the theme of this Leadership Espresso Shot, I'm pleased to announce that you can now also listen to the Leadership Biz Cafe podcast on Audible. As you might recall from past episodes, one of our goals was to broaden the reach of our show by expanding the number of platforms it's available on. So I'm just delighted that over the course of this year, we've had our show added to Deezer, Pandora, and now Audible. And on that positive note, I'm Tanvi Nasir, and you've been listening to Leadership Biz Cafe.